Metaphors in the Road Not Taken by Robert Frost. Introduction. One of Robert Frost's most famous poems, The Road Not Taken, represents a dilemma that is faced by all that is reflected in our actions and thoughts. This poem includes metaphors that outline how we decide our fate by aligning ourselves with a certain route. One reason why this poem is said to include metaphors is due to the fact that each line includes images or words that represent various actions and thoughts that we all face during life. Therefore, the first reason for this poem being a metaphor is due to the fact that it presents possibilities, either one of the well-traveled paths or the other of the less traveled ones. The second reason for this poem being a metaphor is because each image symbolizes a dilemma that enthralls and yet constrains us all. The dilemma of having to choose between the different possibilities. Main body. The opening line contains an image of a yellow wood that has two diverged roads. From the onset, the reader is made to understand the pattern that life sets out for us to choose amongst two crucial possibilities. Yellowwood is in itself a metaphor for the fact that substantial time has passed and now, the crucial decision is upon us to decide the way we would want to live our life. The struggle that each individual faces has been summarized and projected perfectly by the image of two roads diverged. It continues with the second line as the poet highlights the struggle of each individual who is limited by life and its options. Metaphors are used repeatedly, and more are presented to express this crisis that fate creates for all. Undergrowth, grassy, and wanted where are all images that act as metaphors for the poet's thoughts that are universal in their appeal. While the undergrowth is used to represent the uncertain future, grassy and wanted where signify the less traveled route. The poet decides to choose the path that seemed to have the better claim, but goes on to discover that both paths were, in fact, the same. The less traveled route signifies the more difficult path, highlighting the poet's characteristic to prove himself. Not to become a mere follower but, in fact, the leader who creates paths for others. This metaphor usage can be used to represent all those entrepreneurs who all set out to create the unknown and the new. However, as the poem continues, the seemingly more arduous path is proven to be as difficult as the less traveled one. A metaphor to represent the fact that if one can overcome all difficulties and work hard, even the more difficult path can become as simple as the other more traveled one. The poet consoles himself with the notion of "I kept the first for another day," but, at the same time, doubts that happen. This metaphor represents the inability of one being able to go back after choosing the path. The poet says that he should be saying this with a sigh, depicting that the poet is experiencing pangs of self-pity. The poem ends with a positive note as the determined poet seems contented with the decision and devoted to the road he chose. Conclusion. Thus, this poem cannot be said to be a mere walk in the woods but a metaphorical one that projects various images that represent life's various choices from the onset till its conclusion.